Hey there, Theme Park Insider fans. Today's big news is the Disney corporate annual shareholders meeting that was just conducted online. There are a couple little pieces of parks news out of that, really minor, but the big thing is Bob Chapek saying possibly the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard a business CEO say in my entire life. And I've been covering businesses for a long time. Just absolutely amazing. Let's get to the first little parks things first. He said he was open, Chapek said he was open to the idea of bringing back the Two Coast, the old Premier Pass that's good at both Walt Disney World and Disneyland. That went away when obviously Disneyland did away with all of their annual passes. They've replaced them now with Magic Key program. They're careful not to say annual pass, so I don't know what you would call this. Magic annual Key Pass something. They'll come up with some title for it. He also confirmed that the Mary Poppins project at Epcot and the Quinjet ride at Disney California Adventure are now both officially in a holding pattern, but did say that if Disney starts making more money again, or actually he phrased it when, which is probably more accurate, when they start making more money again, they've got more liquidity, they'll see if they can bring those projects back in. One of the factors that was not mentioned that's probably in play for the Disneyland project is that whole Disneyland Forward thing, where they're trying to get city approval to kind of change around their zoning agreements so that they can place attractions on land that is currently designated for parking. That would open up a lot of acreage for attractions at the Disneyland Resort. So anything having to do with new attractions there beyond what they've already announced with Toontown over at Disneyland, I think is kind of waiting to see where Disneyland Forward goes in, because if you remember on the very crude concept art that they circulated when they announced that initiative about a year ago, and this is just the beginning of a public planning process. Really, they don't even have yet the approval that they would need to go forward with it. That concept art did include some things that look like a Wakanda attraction over in that kind of new space over by where the Disneyland Hotel parking currently is. So, we'll see with those, but that's not the big thing I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the big controversy that's been engulfing the Walt Disney Company over the past couple of weeks, which is the so-called Don't Say Gay legislation in the state of Florida, which is now passed and is awaiting the governor's signature, that would basically make it illegal for elementary school classrooms to talk about sexual orientation or gender identity in any way. So, if you've got, two fathers, and it's Mother's Day, or if it's Father's Day and you're trying to make something in class, you can't talk about that. I mean, yeah. So obviously, this is clearly targeted at suppressing the LGBTQI community, and it's just the same cultural garbage that we've seen from the leadership in the state of Florida and many other Republican-led states across the country. I wrote about it in my Orange County Register column this week, basically saying, hey, if Chapek doesn't want to talk about this, doesn't want to take a public stand, that's fine, but they're giving a lot of money to the people who are sponsoring this legislation. Ultimately, money talks. If Disney doesn't want to be associated with this legislation, doesn't want to be associated with the hostile environment that the state of Florida is trying to create for people in the gay and lesbian community, then Disney shouldn't be giving money to the politicians who are enacting this type of legislation. Anyway, Chapek was asked point blank about donating money to people who are in support of this legislation and against other legislation against women's rights, all this type of cultural war garbage that we're seeing passed in legislatures around the country to try and distract us from the real economic issues facing America today. And Chapek said this, I'm actually going to read from it. When we donate money to different political candidates, we have no idea how they're going to vote going forward into the future. Yeah. Imagine you're running a business and you've got somebody, applying for a department head or something, and they say to you, when we budget money to spend, we really have no idea what the return on investment for that money is going to be. Are you hiring that candidate? Nope, No, you're not. Uh, Chapek's not an idiot. He's not stupid. He's not foolish. He doesn't approve money. He doesn't allow his segment heads, department heads, anyone in that company to approve spending money if they have no idea what the return on investment is going to be. He was simply trying to dodge the question because Disney is in the same situation with a lot of other companies today, companies that, say they have progressive values, who are caught in a situation where if they want to get lawmakers to pass tax breaks, uh, you know, the Venn diagram of lawmakers who support corporate welfare and lawmakers who support progressive values no longer overlap pretty much at all. So you have to compromise your corporate values to get the business friendly environment that a lot of companies are looking for. So that means, yeah, you're giving money to people who are going to pass this culture war garbage. He was trying to avoid talking about that, and he did a horrible job of it. I mean, I tweeted that out, and the memes just started rolling in. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video entitled "Leave Bob Chapek Alone," talking about people's criticism of Chapek over all the stuff that's happening in the parks today. My point was not to defend Bob Chapek. My point was to say that words are cheap. Money is what matters in business. If all you're going to do is criticize Bob Chapek, we're going to still keep going to the Disney parks and spending money at the Disney parks. Disney's going to keep doing what Disney's doing. Only when the money goes away and goes to competitors will Disney start changing what it's doing in the parks. So if you really want to affect a change at Walt Disney Company, it's not about criticizing Bob Chapek. It's not about your words. It's about the actions and where you spend your money, because it's all about the money. Same thing with political influence. Chapek said today that the company had opposed this legislation from the start, but decided not to make a public statement, wanting to work behind the scenes, lobbying people in private, hoping that that would make a change. As several people have pointed out on social media, politicians never feel any pressure when you're doing things behind the scenes, when you're doing things in private. Only when it's public do you start bringing pressure to politicians. And ultimately talking, and he said he set up a meeting with Governor Ron DeSantis and LGBT cast members from Walt Disney World to talk about this legislation. That's just providing more cover to DeSantis saying, I'm not a bigot. It's a joke. It's a joke, really, because ultimately it's all about the money. Same point I was making before. If you can talk all you want about progressive values, but if you're going to give money to bigoted politicians, you're going to get bigoted legislation. Regardless of what Chapek said today about, well, we have no idea if that would happen. You knew exactly well what would happen. You've made this bargain. Lots of other businesses have made this bargain at this point. So yeah, it's the words don't matter here. It's all about the money. And Chapek did say that they would reevaluate where they are contributing money going forward. Said that they would sign on to the Human Rights Campaign, donate $5 million to the campaign for supporting LGBT communities and advocacy across the country. Which, okay, that's great. See, money does matter, doesn't it? But he wouldn't commit one way or the other to whether they're going to continue to fund politicians that are passing this type of stuff that adversely affects cast members and a great many Disney fans. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that utterly ridiculous thing that Chapek said today. We'll see if this ends up having any legs or comes back to blow back on him in any way. But ultimately, I don't actually believe that he believes that. I think that was just his very inarticulate way of dodging the question and getting away from the issue. That, again, like I said, I brought that up in my Orange County Register column this week, which is available online now, ocregister.com, and you can go search for Robert Niles. It's also in a lot of the other media newspapers around the country. So anyway, so that's what's happening with Disney today. Otherwise, the rest of the annual meeting was pretty much a nothing burger. Although we did get to look at that Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, the first one for the upcoming Disney Plus series, and I am all in on that. Cannot wait to see that show. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. So anyway, we'll keep you up to date with theme park news on themeparkinsider.com as always. So thanks for watching.